guys, Gareth here from Heartfelt Horsemanship. I'm going to do a video today about halter training foals. These youngsters haven't been halter trained yet. They have been imprinted, which is why they're not scared of humans. And there's a couple of different trains of thoughts about this. Some people that I highly respect recommend leaving a foal untouched and unimprinted. In the situations that I deal with the most here in South Africa, not having a foal not imprinted can be very difficult to get enough work with it, because the foals are kind of put out on the mountainside and aren't handled daily or hung around with daily even. So I do believe in proper imprinting and excuse the horses walking in front of the camera.
Concerned mothers.
So you can carry on talking while you get the foal in your face there. So,
this is so fun.
So we do believe in imprinting, but the actual halter training can come at a later stage. So we're going to show you how we go through the process of getting them halter trained. We don't want to just throw on a halter in a small space and hope for the best. Jam a foal into a small space and then get it working with the halter. But Jamie's going to talk through that while I'm working with we're going to work with this chestnut that's directly in front of Jamie at the moment. What we see often, and Jamie will go into a little more detail, is that people jam a horse into a crush or try to get in a corner it in the stable and put the halter on, and the minute they feel resistance on that pole, they rear up. And we see lots of horses badly hurt, if not killed, as they flip over on themselves. Right guys, we're going to get to the video now before Jamie just giggles herself into a coma. This is a fun topic, so we're going to make it as fun as we can, and there probably will be a lot of giggles through it, but there's some serious stuff to learn here as well. And hopefully this is really good for you guys that aren't getting your horse time. You get to hang out with the foals with us. Thanks guys.
So Gareth's little filly kind of got worried and escaped out of his rope, and that's okay. He'll just go back and approach her again. She ran to Mom. Said, "Mom, I'm worried." So Gareth is just going to stop and check in with Mom and let her know that he has no ill intent. You can see she's got quite a skeptical stance over there. So he's just over there saying, "Hey baby, don't worry about me." It's interesting, as soon as they get nervous, they get thirsty, and it's almost like they always run to the water trough. Or at least that's been my observation. Now our little filly says, "All right, Gareth, you want to catch me?" It's quite a cocky little look, isn't it? "You want to catch me? You're going to have to work for it." And she tries to circle back. Maybe get a little drink of milk. And so what you can't see from here is that if she goes in for a drink, she usually kind of ruts on the udder and rubs her forelock on her mother's flank. And that creates a flow of dopamine that is like our forelock rub. She's gone in for a little reassurance, just checking that everything's okay. You can see the innate curiosity that is in a horse is something so incredible, and we must preserve it. We still need to give them boundaries, but the actual preservation of them being curious flight animals is very important for any horse to reach their potential. So Gareth doesn't worry too much that the baby has gone away. He's just going to spend some time out here, and a lot of people talk about goofing around with their foals, and what we mean by that is actually just coming out here and kind of playing pretend grown-up horse. Let's pretend that I'm gonna halter you. Let's pretend that I'm gonna lead you, and that's how when you think of human children, that's how they learn to be big grown-up people. And the best method of learning is actually through play. So we're not out here, this isn't so serious that if the horse runs away, it's a bad idea. The baby will come back. We don't want to allow the baby too many opportunities to bolt away from us, or otherwise we've actually taught the baby that running away from us is in fact what should be happening. So Gareth is going to be trying to be very passive, but also persistent. So that way we have some good things happening here with our horse without the worry of putting in behaviors that we don't want in there. So handling babies comes with a great responsibility of making sure that we keep in mind that we're trying to help them become good, productive citizens in the world. So what I mean by that is when I think about the horses that I get to start, there are two kinds. There are the ones that have been spoiled in either by not handling or mishandling. And sometimes that mishandling is just having these babies spoiled rotten. And the other is the babies who end up growing to 5 or 6 years old or older and have never been touched. The ones that are easier tend to be the babies that have never been touched. That being said, if you do employ some good skill and some good thought, remembering that we're trying to playfully put in some very strict boundaries with these babies, then you're going to be on the right track. So we kind of need to be perfect middle of the roadists. Not too much discipline, or not, sorry, let me say that again. Not too strict, but not too lenient. The babies are allowed to have their opinion about what Gareth is doing. Gareth has a suitcase technique, so he has kind of a figure 8 looped over the foal to keep a little bit of control over where her body goes, and then he's playing with the rope by putting it up over his nose and up over the foal's nose. Now in a perfect world, this would be happening on day 1 and again every day for the first month or so of life. And then if they get kind of checked out, I'm not too worried about it, though they have so much learning to do. I still prefer to handle my babies more often than not. You know, at this age, unless they live completely wild, in large open camps, and I mean large open areas, they're going to need their feet done, they're going to need all sorts of other things. So this is a fairly small camp. These babies are going to need to be handled, and we're trying to help these babies along, so when the farrier comes or the veterinarian comes or the dentist comes in a few years, they don't have a bad experience. So all of those things we're preparing for these babies' future by working with them now, working with them sooner rather than later, so they don't grow up to be great big heathens. But if you don't know how to handle foals, maybe leaving them until they're later isn't a bad idea, but I would recommend you getting some professional help in if you don't know how to handle babies. The reality is we have a lot of studs breeding some excellent horses, and you know, I'm talking across all breeds and all disciplines. But if the babies aren't handled well and cared for well throughout their life, you know, kind of it's a crapshoot as to what's going to become a more valuable horse in the future. And so I know I'm talking about horse value, but you know, all horses have value to me, all lives have value to me, but when it comes to people wanting that horse later on in life and wanting to bring it on as a prospect, either a perfect partner or a perfect competition partner, if the babies are unmanageable, they very rarely get seen by people. And then we end up with a lot of horses sort of sitting at the back of somebody's property. So that nobody's ever going to see, and no one's ever going to feed well, and no one's ever going to care for well. So if you want to add value to your babies, make sure that they get some good handling somehow. So Gareth is using the suitcase method to help this filly move along. So he's got a figure 8 over her bum and then around her chest, and he holds the center over her back. This allows us to add a little pressure from the bum, a little pressure across the shoulders. It's much safer than ever trying to put a rope around a baby's neck and have that be the method of hanging on. It's actually that suitcase that goes around the bum and the shoulder that is kind of creating control until the baby has a chance to get a feel of what the halter means. So Gareth is just playing little games of follow the feel. You know, he tips the baby's head, you know, right and left with the nose, maybe puts a little pressure on the pole, And what we don't want is we don't want to just put the halter on and have a lead rope and then have that baby run into the pressure on their nose or across their poll. Usually the first instinct for that foal is to kind of go up to try and be evasive or bash into you. And we would like to have a little bit more rapport and communication going, so that way the baby doesn't feel the need to overreact. You can see this little filly having a nice little practice session of putting the halter on, taking the halter off. She's got a little bit of an attitude about that. I'm not sure. I like your bossiness, sir. It's okay. She's allowed to explore the confines of that halter and Gareth's restraints. Remember that, you know, out here these horses have no restraints in confined areas and they don't tie each other up with ropes. It's only humans that do that. So we can make their lives a whole lot easier and a lot less confusing and frightening by giving them some practice runs and playful exploration of what our tools mean and how we're going to use them. So that way they become brave and they don't have to be worried about all of the things that humans are going to do to them. And the humans in turn can do a whole lot more for the horse in the long term. Don't touch my poll, don't touch my ears. I like the expression on this little horse. She's she's very decisive about how she feels about things. You know, those ears are back. You know, that's not necessarily I hate this. That is trying to understand this, and she's doing a great bit of thinking. I like how she's flowing with Gareth. She's doing a wonderful job here of maintaining. Mom's not too far away, so if she does get worried, we can march right back over to Mom. She's doing a wonderful job. Gareth has the halter out now. Filly's, her ears are forward. She's inquisitive. She's sort of had some time to think and lick and chew and just realize that Gareth doesn't mean her any harm. She's busy listening to my voice over here, and she's very alert about everything that Gareth is doing. She's got one ear back on him always, hey? So Gareth is getting some response from pull pressure. And so if she gets some, Gareth kind of plays around with mimicking pull pressure from the halter by just pulling that rope down a little bit up by her ears. It's a little far low down on her neck, but we're not going to be too particular right now. We're just playing. But she's kind of got the idea that she should drop her head versus lift her body up. So Gareth is putting the halter on, and we're kind of timing our halter with not letting go of all of our restraints, so that way we kind of have a chance. She's a big filly, and she could pull away from us. So we're still going to make things nice and slow. We're going to kind of unravel our ropes. You know, Gareth looks like he might be trussing a turkey over there. So we're going to slowly take off those ropes and let the lead rope eventually be what we have for communication. And I use the word communication because I don't want to think about, you know, control ends up being such a big word in the horse world. What we're trying to teach this filly from day one is that halter's there to communicate and help her figure out what we want in life. If it's just there for control and restraint, horses tend to resent the halter later on in life. Gareth is going to let her figure out the feel of that halter, back her up. Basically what Gareth is doing is he is teaching in minute movements, very cute, the 4 core movements from the position that we have, or the availability that we have of halter pressure. So, you know, we need to be able to have our horse back up, move forward, move the shoulders left and right, and be able to disengage the hindquarters left and right. And that's everything that a horse needs to know for the rest of their life. So this is a pretty big day for this baby. So yield the hindquarters, move forward. Gareth tried a little bit of backwards just now. So yield to the nose and move backwards. And Gareth is there offering a lot of reassurance. When Gareth moved into Selsley, he made sure he spent lots of time with these babies. Because how could you not like these cute little heathens? Now, when I say little heathens, sometimes foals can be kind of obnoxious. They run away and they don't cooperate, and all of the things that farriers and veterinarians and trainers don't tend to love foals for. And Gareth and I both love being with foals because they're so pristine, and all of their dignity has been preserved, all of their curiosity has been preserved, and they're just fantastic, perfect horses that haven't been harmed yet, haven't been misguided yet. So I could spend all day, every day, just playing with babies alone. I think they're fantastic. And I've had farriers tell me that they despise handling foals, though my foals could pick up their feet and stand quietly and handle all the things that vets and farriers wanted to do. And that is because we spent the time in imprint training and then doing early halter training while they're still small enough and their brains are really developing into the habits that they need to survive later on in life. Out in the wild, this horse would never need this skill, would never let a predator, wrap itself around it without a fight. We need to change the programming here of this little wild animal to accepting what a human has to do. I think people spend a lot of time avoiding their babies because they think that they're going to cause them harm by training them too early. I completely disagree. When you do have training and you put your heart in your hand and you're willing to spend the time with the foals like this, you're going to have outstanding results as long as you remember that there's boundaries. If we wait until they're adults, you don't quite have the opportunity to make this impression on them. And so at this point, this is not imprint training, this is training. This baby is getting some pretty spectacular positive life skills out of this, and all done in a loving way that is supportive, and we're going to have a lot of appreciation for how delicate and intimate this moment in this foal's life is. We want this baby to learn to look to humans for the answer without being harmed.
I'm still using the operant conditioning thing. I'll pick up lightly on there, and if they start fighting, or if I get to like the light response, then I'll pick up on the neck, so that I'm not putting all that pressure on there that's going to make them go up.
Alright, so Gareth is using the concept of phases or operant conditioning to put pressure on the halter and be able to activate the foal's feet in the direction that he chooses. And so he activates the halter first, but he doesn't want to put so much pressure on there that the foal decides to go up. Gareth, that foal is big enough to kill a human if we put it in a position that it feels the need to fight. So we're using small degrees of pressure, enough that the foal can feel the pressure on the halter, the pressure from the rope. And if it doesn't respond to the halter, Gareth is using the rope around the neck or rope around the bum to follow through. So that's where his phases are coming in. So eventually the foal feels the pressure on the halter and goes, "Oh, please don't touch me with the rest of that rope. I completely understand what you're asking of me." And I think that's a pretty good idea to follow through with. So there's a lot of love going on here, a lot of rapport building, a little bit of operant conditioning, and we're trying to make sure that this is a supportive event for this baby. I don't want this baby to view this as the worst possible thing that could have ever happened to it. And I've seen some full handling and halter training that just make just freeze your blood as to how careless it's done and how horrible it ends up being for that baby. And the results have spoken for themselves, that when babies are mishandled, they can become violent monsters for the rest of their life until they have better training. So we prefer to see people spend a lot of time handling their babies with love. We move a little bit slower and we spend a little bit more time being supportive and less doing things. Our babies tend to have pretty good opinions about what humans are doing. So yes, this baby will probably need to have her feet done. that means that we're going to work with her and help her be able to pick up her feet. Yes, this baby will probably have to see a veterinarian, have injections done, blood drawn. You know, she's right at the right age where, you know, injections are going to be a part of her world. And if we can supportively help her by communicating to her with a halter, then her world isn't so frightening. Now, what often happens is people throw 6 grooms at this baby, which is terrifying for them, by the way, and just to hurry up and get the job done anyways. And I think people miss a great opportunity to help their babies understand what it is humans want. And if they would just slow down a few minutes, just, you know, work with a few less people and a little bit more love and understanding, you know, these babies will grow up just fine. You know, still, when I say love and understanding includes boundaries, you know, so we're not going to take any shit from this baby. We're not going to let the baby carry on or harm us in any way. And certainly the most important thing is not get a release of pressure for doing the wrong thing. That is how we are going to help this baby with love. Now, spoiling this baby and letting this baby do whatever the heck she wants is going to, in fact, spoil the baby and create a lot of bad behaviors that some trainer down the road is going to have to fix. Remembering that, you know, these formative educational opportunities for a foal can dictate the success or failure of their future. So we try and keep that in mind every time we get to handle a baby, is that we are putting the good stuff in place so that way the bad stuff doesn't have to show up. You know, we are working out here in an open area. Gareth also has, you know, sort of his lungs and legs, you know, in mind, where he doesn't want to have to be chasing these babies all over. So he's going to spend the time to build a rapport by giving some good scratches, by taking some time to do some deep breathing and just let the foal feel really good about being around him. So that way he doesn't have to run up and down this hillside all day to get this job done. It might be nice to do this in a stable or a round pen, just a smaller area. But we often feel like, you know, the biggest reason why foals end up not getting the handling they need is it is a long walk from here to down there by the stables. And it's up a very steep hill too. So it would be very easy to just go, oh, I'm not going to do anything with the foals because they can't be led to and fro, or, you know, oh, let's skip doing the foals today. So today we're putting in the ingredients to be able to handle the foal safely out here. So should we need to treat the foal out here, we can actually catch the little bugger. But also we could lead the foal in past, you know, past the stallions, past other horses safely and controlled, and not end up with some of the wrecks that happen when babies get running around. You know, I've heard terrible stories about babies running into poles or running into implements, getting out on the road. You know, some terrible things can happen with these babies. So if we can add a measure of control now, we will likely protect the investment that we have in breeding these babies. Putting foals on the ground is exponential costs on hoping for something great 4 or 5 years down the line. The time that we're investing in helping this baby understand the halter now is going to give her the best possibility for the future.